Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Around the Lens roundtable discussions. I don't know if we can call it a roundtable, it's just you and I, but yeah, sure, it's a small roundtable with two people
It's
tonight.
it's like the long table like that like when Mr. Burns sits at a dining room table where it's like one end and the other and it's just two people.
I
That's the
love it.
round table.
That's
Or
right.
just really like Arthur's round table, like really at the beginning when it was just Arthur and Lancelot. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, we're building it from the beginning. But no, as evidence, we do not have a guest this week, but that's okay. Me and Zach are great orators, and we got a lot to talk about today. And so we're just going to kind of talk about some stuff we find interesting in the world and maybe catch up on some things we've done personally that you might be interested in hearing about. So no guest does not mean no show, which means we're going to get going right now. So let's talk about some things that have happened in the news, Zach, that we found interesting. You found some stories. I found some stories. Why don't we turn out to your story first? One about memory cards getting a big price increase. Talk to us a little bit about this story you found from
Yeah.
photorumors.com.
Yeah, I mean it's not just a photo rumor story. It's this one specifically about OWC, one of the, I don't know about more major, but like one of the bigger memory card producers, creators, industry
Manufacturers?
word here. Manufacturers, there you go. Um they are announcing a memory card price increase, just like kind of every other hard drive or solid state or any kind of manufacturer. One thing that like I think we've all seen this for a while, like solid state drives. If you like, I live off of solid state drives because I for some reason shoot 4K video for like everything I do, just on the chance that some documentary might need it in the future. And so I can up the selling prices theoretically, at least at its top end. Um and that's the only way you can kind of edit. Like try I'm actually been doing editing on a 7200 RPM um old school hard drive, a mechanical hard drive,
Holy
and
cow.
it is not fun, let me tell you that. It
Absolutely.
is not fun at all. Thankfully it's just been like kind of short stuff. But it's kind of like click a button, wait a beat, click another button, wait a beat, and that sort of thing. So, and yeah, it's a really bad idea, but solid state drives are through the roof.
Yeah.
The I run off of I have this my little suitcase of I'm showing for those just listening my hard drive, my suitcase
Oh,
of like mini hard drives of the
it's a nice
little
collection.
my preferred ones are the Crucial. I use 2 terabytes. It's a Crucial, the black ones. I don't know what the speed is. Yeah, there you go.
I've
Kind
got
of the
an
same
eight
deal.
terabyte one right here.
Is that an 8 terabyte?
8 terabytes, baby.
Holy God, man!
I got this
That's
before
like $3,000 right now or something.
$400 when I got this like last year because I needed them
I
for my
think it's about
film.
triple that price right now.
It's at
Yeah,
least
I think
double.
it's like
It's at
twelve
least
hundred
double,
dollars right
if
now.
not more.
I
Yeah.
I've been considering like wiping these and like putting them on old school hard drives and selling them just for profits right now, but I don't see an end of it, and it's all because of data centers, because they
Yeah.
need, basically the same chip material that goes into these go into the data centers. It's why memory, like not hard drive memory, hard drive memory versus hard drives, or computer memory is also skyrocketing through the roof, and like everything is massively expensive because supposedly they're building all of these massive data centers. I listen to Ed Zitron, which is a podcast. He does a podcast and a newsletter that I highly recommend. He has not been able to actually find where these data centers are actually built for all of these chips and everything like that. But that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But it is these things just like. And now it's trickled down to our memory cards. And also, I mean, the biggest thing that's driving me nuts, because my goal this year I was going to start doing like backups and also like kind of a reorganization of all of my work. Like
Right.
that was one of my like kind of year end goals of like, okay, at least everything I need to have a 2018 hard drive, a 2017 hard drive, a whatever, and kind of just like do that. And that's not happening because even like I think it's a 10 terabyte or it's a 12 terabyte mechanical hard drive via just a bare drive, that internal hard drive. I think that cost me like 275 maybe like 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Last time I checked, it's like at $400, $500. And that's just not for what the quantity that I need to do, it is not possible. I would need to buy like 10 of those because I have, a decade, at least a decade's worth of work, especially since I started shooting video, which has been about 10 years. And so that's kind of affected almost every photographer I know is losing their minds in the fact of not being able to afford these different solid state hard drives anymore. Because it's just, for some news people, I use 2 terabyte hard drives just because if I lose this, then I'm not losing 2 years worth of work or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever kind of thing. And it's not, and not forgetting to back it up or that type of thing. I
Right.
use 2 terabytes. But now that I've been shooting 4K, I can't even afford to go to 4 terabytes, which is what I should. But like this is, 6 months of work theoretically,
Wow.
maybe four months now, and because I don't, just shoot 4K video, and that's I need having to buy 3 of these, 4 of these a year is just not possible. I've already backed up one and wiped it, which was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my life.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So hopefully that hard drive stays alive. Knock on woods, everything that it
Yeah.
will, because right now that's the only place on the planet that those that 4 months of my life is backed up. So
Gosh. That's
I mean,
scary.
I have like the final edits and stuff like that backed up on Dropbox, but yeah.
Have you considered
I don't know, have
using?
you been experiencing? I mean, you shoot film and like, okay.
I do not shoot film ever, but I shoot a lot.
No, no, no. I mean, you shoot video.
Films.
Sorry, I meant to
Okay.
say you
Yes.
shoot films. Yes, that's
Yes.
what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, the hard drive crunch is real.
What, you're not shooting
Absolutely.
35 millimeter?
I know, but maybe I should. Maybe I should be like our good friend C.S. Muncie and shoot medium and regular format film. But no, the hard
Yeah,
drive
yeah.
crunch is real. I have multiple multi 72 RPM hard drives in a RAID array. I do this every couple of years where I'll build
Hmm.
a RAID array out and I'll make it like a massive amount of storage
Yeah.
space, and that acts as my archive. And so I've got 3 of those so far. The most recent one, which I created, I
Hmm.
think probably 2 or 3 years ago, which is kind of scary how fast it's quickly filled up. But it had 72 terabytes of data. I have about 6 terabytes left on
Hmm.
it before it fills up. And so I'm going to
Hmm.
have to be start thinking about making a new backup hard drive. The one thing I will say though is that hard
Yeah.
drives continue to get higher and higher in capacity, like the spinning disk ones. So like
Yeah.
if I were to build another one out right now, I could get like, 30 or 32 terabyte hard drives, and stack those into a RAID
Yeah.
array. It'd be very expensive, but,
That terrifies me, man.
having that much data or having it
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, I build it in such a way where
All
it's
in
like
one
has the
spot.
redundancy.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay. Okay.
if
Yeah.
we get in a house fire, my entire collection is gone if it's not backed up on the cloud. Which I was going to ask you, have you thought about a backed up, cloud solution like Backblaze or even like Amazon Prime?
So, I mean, I have Dropbox, and I have Zenfolio. I use Zenfolio, which has my account has been grandfathered in, and it's an unlimited account.
Oh, okay,
I
good.
don't use that incredible, like huge, but I do like when I do an edit from a news story. It's most people do like 15 photos and they're out. I do a
Sure.
quick like wire edit, and then I get
Right.
home, and then I do like if it's if it was like a long event, I do like 100 photo edit, or I do basically I edit kind of almost every photo, as long as it's not like an exact duplicate, every photo that is usable in any way,
Hmm.
shape, and form. Just because a lot of my coverage ends up being potentially useful like a year later when, oh, that guy that was in the audience went to jail, type of thing.
There you go.
And so like, oh, that guy, oh, he works for the State Department and he was at the Unite the Right rally kind of thing.
Right.
Like that's why I do like, my like the Unite the Right edit that I have is like a 600 photo edit.
Hmm.
It's basically every single image that is in focus or at least has a plane of focus, is up there. That's in Dropbox, and then I have a somewhat smaller edit on Zenfolio, my portfolio site, and
Yeah.
then that's kind of like kind of it like on digital. I I'm still, I remember back in the day when Amazon had a super cheap, kind of just continual slow trickle backup thing.
Yep.
And then they decided to stop having it and I remember a friend of mine had like terabytes of information up like years ago. And this is like probably 15 years ago. He had like maybe not terabytes, but like hundreds of gigs worth of stuff
Right.
backed up. And basically, he basically had to like get rid of a lot of it because
Oh my
it
God.
was like not sustainable to keep that. I mean, it was like backups of movies, like digitizing movie. Like we had before Plex. Like I used to, my good friend Jim Beavard. I doubt he's listening, but he's out. He used to be my, he's not used to be, but he's my computer friend. He knows like everything about computers. Worked at B&H and B&H Photo Video, and I don't even know where he works now. Somewhere like much larger. But
Mhm.
he had like a basically before Plex servers were a thing, he had like a Plex server in our apartment, which was amazing because it was just like, oh, you want to watch this movie, or you want to listen to this song. Basically, we had all of that stuff from like basically ripped DVDs or downloaded films.
Yeah,
Question
no,
mark.
I mean, I've
So,
I've got Amazon
yeah.
Prime, and I believe it comes with Amazon Prime. So if you're a Prime member, you get it automatically.
Mhm.
But it comes with, as far as I know, unlimited photo storage and 5 GB of video storage. Now, obviously, that's not a lot of video storage, so it's not really viable as like a backup
Yeah.
solution for video. But for photos, it's not bad because I believe actually they allow you to store your RAWs. The last time I checked. And for a while, I
Okay.
was very on the ball with regard to backing my stuff up to it because, I'm paying for Prime anyways, right? There's so many benefits you get. Do you have Prime or do you not use it?
Hmm.
So there's so many
Yeah, I
benefits
have
you get
Prime.
from
Yeah.
using Prime. And so I would definitely look into it as if you want a third cloud solution. But if Zenfolio is meeting your needs, then you're good to go. I actually did an offsite storage for my film because I wanted someplace outside of my
Mhm.
house to have it, and it was 12 terabytes, so I couldn't really put it on the cloud. So I backed it up onto a external hard drive and I
Yeah.
gave it to a friend of mine and said, "Hey, hold on to the miss. If something happens to me, you have to
Yeah.
finish the film. All right, that's the responsibility you now have."
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
speaking of my film, actually, I
I
did.
was that person for a friend as well. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Good.
Yeah. So speaking of my film, actually, I got to picture lock this weekend. So I'm starting to move on towards final effects, final sound, final composition, composition. And so I'm aiming for like a July, August release date for like festivals and stuff. I want to start my festival run
Mhm.
this summer, and then hopefully by the fall, maybe by Christmas time, I'll have it out on like streaming services, or at least that's my plan. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Can't
if
wait to see it.
actually speaking, oh yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely let you know and let everybody know who wants to see it. They can. But speaking of films and film festivals, I'll actually be going up to Tribeca for the Tribeca Film Festival coming here in June. So that should be really fun,
Mhm.
an interesting experience. Going to see a lot of documentaries and going to hopefully interview some folks who made the documentaries.
Mhm.
So I'm going to hopefully leverage some of that content for
Nice.
this channel. And if nothing else, maybe schedule them to get on the show in the future. So that'd be my goal going up there.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll bring up a story I found interesting on the internet, coming from Petapixel. There was a story about two photographers who essentially shot the same basic style of image, which is essentially a macro photo of a papaya cut in half with small little figurines playing golf and using the papaya seeds as golf balls. And so basically this is a lawsuit because one photographer essentially copied the other photographer's concept, right? Obviously, it's a different photo, but it's the exact same general concept. And so now they're in court. We don't know the actual results of the lawsuit, I believe. That's not been determined, but just the idea that one photographer can sue another photographer for taking a photo that's of a similar concept to that photographer, I think is kind of interesting. And I think it'll be interesting what kind of precedent this sets because where does that sort of line stop, because I mean, what are we going to see? Like, well, you took a picture of somebody standing at a podium talking, I took a picture of somebody standing at a podium talking, you copied my style, right?
Yeah.
Or is it only going to be in the domain of like the artistic
Yeah.
photographer? What do you think, Zach?
I mean, news wise, I mean, I think that's impossible because like we're standing next to each other, and
Exactly.
taking individual photos. So I mean, um, I mean, on that end, I mean, I mean, I was trying to remember other cases because there has been a lot of other cases with this kind of thing where it's just like you're inspired by an idea and either you duplicate it, which I mean, I think like everybody I know that went to photo school, we at some point, because we're all trying to figure out how to learn how to do lighting and things like that, like you end up copying Avedon. You end up copying, you try to do the same photo that one did because you do it online. So it's interesting, and I don't think, please, if anyone's listening in the comments, it's like if you remember how these court cases ended up, I don't remember any of the other court cases ending up um in in a loss. Basically, I think they just kind of like threw them away, that like unless it was like an exact duplicate kind of thing, you can't really sue.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been a long time since I remember. I believe we talked about it maybe on the first run of our Around the Lens. I think we talked about some of these cases, or at least one of
Hmm.
these cases. And so it's been that long. But this guy, I mean, like this is a little wild considering like it's not just this one photo, which I feel like, okay, you can kind of get away with like, oh, that's a fun idea. Let me try that too.
Hmm.
But it's also, they did the banana shot, which is in the Petapixel article. Obviously, we'll link in the show notes.
Yeah. Which actually
And
isn't part of the
so
lawsuit.
I
That
mean,
one was
it's
rejected.
this. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like, I mean, I don't know how that can't be kind of like both of, like the kind of cumulative effect of like multiple photos. If you just try to copy one person's photo, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like half of the art world would end up being sued. Um, yeah, I don't necessarily see this going, but I mean, we've had photo copyright lawsuits are so all over the place, because I think we're still kind of defining, which is wild. We're kind of still kind of defining what photo copyright law is in America. So
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think, there's definitely something to say like art is inspiration, right? And so for one artist to be
Mhm.
inspired by the other, I think if we start litigating that and saying like, your art is too close to mine, I think it just opens a real big can of worms, and then you're going to have a whole bunch more
Yeah.
lawsuits. And I'm thinking of our buddy who's been on the show
Yeah.
a couple times, Matthew Callahan, in his series where he focuses on
Mhm.
little toy soldiers and very realistic, sort of gritty war scenes. And I'm thinking that's an idea that's ripe for
Yeah.
being copied. And, I wonder, would he take
Yeah.
issue with someone, being inspired by his idea to make it their own similar
Yeah.
style work? And I can't imagine him, finding a reason to litigate because I don't know, because he's using copywritten
But well, I mean,
material
you
anyways to
know,
make his work.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a lot harder for him. But I mean, it's also, I mean, like the idea of kind of the figurine world, where it's like the miniature figurine world is I have photos from 2000, and I think it would have been 2006. I'm trying to remember what camera I had to be able to take. I took green army men and put
Huh?
them at the beach, and I did like a Normandy
Okay.
style kind of photo thing in black and white.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it must have been 2006, because my little sister was very little and she helped me do that. So I mean, like I wouldn't, it's like that would be me suing him. I mean, like
Hmm.
it's like kind of a ridiculous thing,
Yeah.
unless it's like an exact kind of, I can see the ire that this guy, that the photo that the kind of the one that's suing has over this. I mean, like, come on, like exact same thing. I mean,
Hmm.
I think there's also the added thing is, which were they trying to sell the photos? So I feel like there's always like that as well, when they're like if you're also trying to sell it versus you're just trying to copy it and post it
Sure.
online, I think is a
Yeah.
huge difference. If you're going to try to like basically minimize somebody else's work by diluting the marketplace with, additional copyrighted kind of like duplicate prints.
Hmm.
And like that kind of idea, I think is something that could definitely be defined. I mean, we see that in the anytime that there's three photographers lined up, we're competition. Like we're taking all the same photos mostly. Obviously,
Yeah.
we all have different eyes, we have different lenses and that sort of thing. But like the fact, anytime I go to cover an event and I'm the only person there, and I'm like, think because I'm like, I don't have to compete with anybody else. I have the thing is, I just covered an event in Maryland where I was the only wire photographer there. There was a New York Times
Oh.
photographer, but obviously that was for like a very specific story they were shooting. But so I'm just like, fantastic. I don't think I made any sales from it still, but it was just like it's always nice. I drove 2.5 hours, paid a huge amount of tolls and crossing the that huge though it is at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and everything like
Yeah.
that. And so like I'm like, okay, at least I have exclusive on this story.
Hey, there you go. Speaking of selling photos, I actually sold a photo
Mhm.
from 2007.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. Somebody apparently bought a photo I took at
nice.
an event in 2007. So that was a nice little surprise. That the only money I made on that
Nice.
shoot, but hey, I'll take it. But you never know, Zach. Maybe a decade from now you'll earn a few
Yeah.
bucks. You'll earn that those toll money back. You never know.
No, I mean it's always, it's like I was just talking with a friend about the fact, I mean this is very off subject of what we were talking about, but it's just talking about a friend with like why I cover CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee. It's not like
Right.
nothing really newsworthy that much happens there anymore, but like I still think I took a photo of a person who is now a prominent right-wing figure, but way back
Okay.
then she was not really well known.
Yeah.
And that photo that I took, I was because she wasn't well known. I was probably the only wire photographer that was actually taking photos because
Wow.
at these big events, often be like, oh, Trump is there, the VP is there, Secretary of State is there, or whatever, and all the wire photographers are there. And then for the 500 other speakers throughout any of these event days, it's usually me and then like a friend of mine because we know the business. We're going for the basically we're going for the scraps
Yep.
in our for our wire services like
Sure.
Nerphoto and whatever Zuma and things like that. And so we're taking burst mode photos of these random talk show hosts who in 5 years may say something and then suddenly become important, which is what happened with this woman. Is that like 6 months later she basically became a person who supported the Nazis in Germany.
Oh my
as
God.
a Candace, it was Candace Owens, and I probably that year I made like probably $500 from those photos, which isn't like a crazy amount of money, but it was like everyone used my photo when they were talking about her because no one had any photos of her that weren't like screenshots from her podcast or her publicity photos. And then every
Yeah.
year since then, it's been like, you know, 150 to $200 a year, that I make photos from this. So it's always worth it to go to these events, but no one else. If you hear I'm going somewhere, don't go there because I want the exclusive.
There you go. Noted. Stay away from Zach. If your Zach is a coming, you better
Yep.
back off. He will not respect
I'm
you.
cutthroat. Not
That's
really
right.
at all. I tell everybody where I'm going, and I tell other photographers, hey, by the way, this event's happening. Does anyone else want to go? Basically, just because it's the only time we get to hang out.
I
It's
know,
these
right?
horrible events.
Exactly.
So
That's right. Yeah,
like,
we
oh,
gotta
there's
go.
a Nazi speaking in Maryland. Let's all go and hang out. We can grab dinner after.
Hey, I mean, if you're doing something in
That's
Maryland,
a
that's my
clip right there. That's
backyard,
going to be
Zach.
pulled at some point.
Zach, if you're doing something in
Yeah, it was
Maryland,
out
you
on
let me
the
know. I'll be
peninsula.
there.
Yeah,
I got nothing better to do than come to a photo
I don't
shoot with
think
you, buddy.
you know where you know where Salisbury University was or is. So I mean, that's but yeah. Anyway,
Is that where it was? That's where the event was taking place? Salisbury
yeah, yeah,
University?
yeah.
I mean, I'll,
It's out in the peninsula, so you would
oh,
have to
okay.
drive. Yeah.
A little
Anyway.
bit. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
if it's like an hour or so from where I'm at, I'm down with going. Like if you want to do
Mhm.
something in DC, if you're ever like
Yeah.
shooting something in DC, let me know. I can jump on a train, be there in 30 minutes. So it's no big
I'll,
deal.
I'll be there on Sunday. So.
Sunday? Oh, well, this Sunday I'm actually going to West Virginia because I'm graduating from West Virginia University with my master's degree in marketing.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh. Now we have a big master's degree man on our show.
Well,
You're gonna start upcharging your rates now. I see.
technically my second master's because I have a master's in business administration as well. So I should charge more for my
You're
time. I'm now a consultant, right?
okay. I just yeah.
I'll definitely charge the around the lens
On your
business
own
more
pod
for my
on
time.
your own podcast. Yeah. That's a
I'm going to pay myself double
you're
what I
you're a
pay myself
founder.
now.
That's how we do this. You're a founder. That's what everyone calls themselves now, and that's how you get the real money.
That's right. I'm going to double
Yeah.
my salary
So.
from zero to zero. Um, let's talk a little bit
Yes.
about this camera back digital thing that you found online on Kickstarter. Which before we get into it, have you backed it? Are you going to back it, or is it too pricey? Because it's kind of pricey.
I
That's kind
I
of
just
pricey.
don't have any interest in it. You
Yeah.
know what? Yeah. Let's see. What is
So this is the
the
I'm
words
back
here?
roll APS-C digital film inside your camera. Basically, it just converts any film
Yep.
camera into like a digital camera, which is a really neat idea. And something that kind of reminds me of back in the late
Oh
90s,
yeah.
early 2000s, we had this basically. Kodak made something for Nikon
Mhm.
cameras. It was the very first kind of series of digital single lens reflex cameras that came out. And I used it because, that's what we had back then. It shot, I think, like, 2 megapixel images or something crazy. And so it's neat to kind of see this technology that is
Yeah.
advanced to the point where it basically fits inside of where you would put film in a camera. So I think that's pretty neat, just
Yeah.
conceptually. I mean, again, I wouldn't buy it, but I think it's neat that it exists. What do you think, Zach?
It's not terrible either. I mean, $450 for the you get one, they call it back roll 64 gig memory, one remote control because I guess you have to use a remote control for it. And USB-C cable. So I mean, like that's the early price that they have six left. So if anybody wants it, it's about $450, not counting shipping. So they are very far off on their goal. But
They are.
oh yeah, they're I just noticed
No, they
before we did this, they're very far off on the
the goal was
oh no no, oh I'm
44,000.
sorry. I flipped the numbers in my head. No, they hit it. So I mean, yeah, they only have 59 hours to go. So if you want it, get it now. But yeah, no, that's it's I like this is like it's kind of innovation. I like that idea. um I if I'm going to use one of my film cameras, I'm going to shoot film.
Hmm.
What I would rather have is kind of more innovation in the scanning kind of technology world and more development world or something like that, like, so because I'm just like, no, I got three I got three Nikon digital cameras that shoot full frame, shot that thing. I don't need that. I can put the great thing about Nikons is I can put my old Nikon F lenses on. So if I want that kind of, if I want to have like a hazier look, or there's adapters and things like that for every other lens in the world. So I don't know. It's a cool idea. I mean, I'm happy that they got kickstarted because it's, hopefully it'll come through and everything like that. So
Yeah, I can see the value of this in revitalizing film cameras that you might have on a shelf. Like I've got a N90, I've got some other film cameras that just collect dust. And so if I were like really
yeah,
die hard, I want to use those cameras, then I could see myself maybe considering this, but I just don't have the disposable income like you to throw at this. I've got
yeah,
three Canon R5 style cameras.
yeah,
I got more than I need in terms of tech and equipment. So I have no need. In fact, I'm having to pay to get my R5 repaired. I actually went down to DC
oof,
to this company called Pro Photo, one of the few like photo stores left, and to get my
yeah,
R5 repaired, it's going to be about $450. And I was also having issues with my
oof,
7200 f4 lens, and I submitted that to see if they could
yeah,
repair it. Because when I went on Canon, although I am a Canon CPS member, right? When I went to Canon and did the estimate, they said it was going to cost like $900 to get this lens repaired. And I was like, oh my God, that's so expensive.
yeah.
Like lenses are
just
extremely
just get
expensive.
a Sigma get a Sigma 7200 f2.8 and it'll be fine. But
Well, I
yeah,
mean, here's the thing, right? So I went to Profoto and I let
yeah,
them give me a second quote on how much it would cost to repair it. Believe it or not, it would cost more to buy the parts than it would to buy a brand new lens. Like that's how much it would cost to
yeah,
repair it. It would cost almost $2,000 to repair this lens, and I can go get it new right now for like 1,500. That's crazy. It's
yeah.
like I can't even get the lens repaired. It's basically trash.
It's truly, yeah, yeah, it's truly offensive. I mean, one thing that Nikon has done, which is like really makes me dislike the company, which is they've gotten a little bit better on it. You can actually kind of get things now, but like things like a battery door, you can't just buy it. You used to maybe I even checked in the last year, but for like the Nikon mirrorless cameras, if you I had the Nikon Z6 battery door is poorly made. It is just poorly made. I've broken it three times. Um, and I bought two. When they still had them available on B&H, I bought one for like $40, which is insane for a battery door. And then, or I think it might have been more. And then after that, they were just out of it, and you had to go to Nikon, but you couldn't buy them from Nikon. You have to send your camera in for them to replace it. A
Mm,
battery door.
mm.
So then I just went on Amazon, or I think honestly it might have been even whatever, a Temu or something like that, and found a couple, and I basically bought like three different kinds, and like one of them fit, and it was like
Hmm.
$15. It took like
Wow.
a month to get there or whatever, but it was just like, this is insane. And the one that's on my Z6 right now is a knockoff of a knockoff or whatever, and it works perfectly fine because it's a freaking battery door. I just don't understand like what they're doing. Like I get like when your business is Nikon is like once again lost a whole bunch of money this like last quarter, I guess. Like I just was reading a report about it. And I get that you kind of want to focus things down. But I mean, like, if it's a choice, then you know what? Like, if it comes down to it, like, I'll just move to Sony. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
that, I'm a diehard Nikon fan. I would, I offered to get the tattoo before, it's like, I love my cameras, but I'm like, at the end of the day, they're freaking tools. And like, if they're really going to make it that hard to fix tools, screw it. And
Hmm.
it's really kind of offensive. I mean, even what Nikon's doing with, not really pushing out their allowing other people like Sigma can't make for some reason Sigma can't make Nikon lenses like they're
Hmm.
putting a thing. I think Canon does something somewhat similar too, right? That they don't allow or they're not like releasing the proprietary whatever mount or something. And
I don't know. I
Nikon,
mean,
so like I can't get a Sony Z lens. Or I can't get a was Sony. I can't get a Sigma Sony Z lens. Tamron does make them, and Viltrox and Chinese companies make them, which is what probably going to be my next lens if I'm going to buy another lens. Is probably going to end up
mhm.
being a Viltrox. They're coming out with like a 35 millimeter 1.4, and it'll probably be half the cost of Nikon's. And so it
Um,
sucks.
so the RF mount is accessible by other manufacturers. I'm just looking at
Mhm.
Sigma's site right now,
Oh, it
and you
is.
can get RF mount lenses. I don't know if it's in any way
Mhm.
limited in terms of what kind of capabilities you have, for instance, with regard to autofocus or anything like that. For instance, I've used a lot of cinema glass for my filmmaking, and I've got a series of RF
Yeah.
mount lenses that are both spherical and panoramic, anamorphic style cinema glass. They're not autofocus though,
Mhm.
and so they don't. And they're all f-stop. They're all aperture is manual. So that's. But
Yeah.
I want that kind of control for my cinema glass.
Yeah.
For
Same. I wish.
wish what?
Oh, I'm saying I wish I could. I wish that lenses still came with the aperture, like chain, a physical aperture ring.
Yeah.
I think that's something Viltrox is actually doing on some of their new lenses, which is why I'm very interested in theirs. I used to have their 35 millimeter 1.8 for the
Okay.
Z mount, and found it. It was like 90% there on quality and everything like that. Like I noticed a slight difference, but like for the price point. Not in, it's definitely was worth it. Like, because it
Yeah.
was like $300 versus, um, I think at the time, I don't even think at the time I had the lens. I don't even know if Nikon had a 35 millimeter 1.8 lens.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah. I know.
yeah.
I think Canon might make a lens that has a switchable f-stop ring, so it's like you can either have it be electronic and be
Mhm.
fully automatic and digital, or you can actually like click it into a like adjustable setting where you can manually adjust it. I don't know. I haven't done that research. I think I heard about
Yeah.
it, but yeah, I'm gonna look into probably some third-party lenses and see what else they have, or I might just get the f2.8 7200 used or something like that because I do prefer to have all Canon equipment. That's what I have, right now is all Canon, and I just like staying within the
Yeah.
Canon family
For
personally.
video, it's really important
It
often.
is, yeah. In fact, they make a Canon like video lens that you can like add on to and make it like digital zoom, not digital, but like button zoom, like
Mhm.
on a video camera, like an ENG
Yeah.
style camera.
Yeah.
I don't know if I get that, but it is something now I have to consider because my 7200 is basically garbage. So there's,
Yeah.
whatever how much I spent for that. It did serve me good for like 5 years,
Yeah.
but still it's like very, very irritating that this lens is just no longer useful. Maybe I can sell it for parts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit
And
about
I would say that's what I always do. I never
no, go ahead.
Sorry.
I
We
love
have
this
a little bit of
delay.
a delay, just so you know. Like that's going on. So yeah, I know. I guess it's something. I don't know if it's mine or what's going on because the last recording that I did, we also had a delay. So this is super fun. Thanks, Zoom. But I never get anything repaired. I sell it as is and basically
Hmm.
tell people what's wrong with it on eBay or in
Sure.
person, and basically just sell it as is and be like, for usually I never sell a lens that's like well, have sold a lens that's like, I will say four parts, just say for only or whatever. If it has,
Hmm.
doesn't have autofocus fake functionality, doesn't have whatever.
Right.
And because lots of people know how to fix, our mutual friend CS Muncie, he
Hmm.
knows how to fix half of these things because he used to work in the used department at
Right.
B&H Photo Video. So he spent a lot of times fixing equipment and things like that. Maybe not all the digital kind of insides of some of these things, but and also, it's a way, if you're a repair shop or whatever, it's one of the only ways you can get parts for things is
Right.
basically, or the cheapest way you can buy your lens for $800 or $600 or something like that, and then suddenly the only thing, there's probably some little wire somewhere that
Hmm.
snapped or whatever, and or one plane of glass that can be easily fixed by somebody who has a clean room or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, and so yeah, it sucks that it's just like TVs where it's just like, if you get like a little, once you get that red pixel or whatever in a TV, or you get that one little dent, it's, you just got to throw out the TV basically, and get a new one, which, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And again, I'll see what I can do with it. I'd like to maybe see if I can get a few bucks for it for parts. I'll put it on eBay and we'll see. I mean, the problem is again, like the parts inside of it are broken and the parts to replace it are so expensive. So even CS would probably be like, yeah, it's a lost cause. So maybe I'll just put it on a shelf and have it as a nice little keepsake and a paperweight, to remind me of, or maybe I'll turn it into like a cup, like those mugs. I'll just turn it into a mug or something.
Yeah,
Um, but anyways, let's
a
talk a
very,
little
very
about
expensive bug.
a very expensive mug. That's right. Let's talk a little about Resolve. So Resolve recently came out with their new version 21, which has a lot of cool functionality, some new AI features, and what's really neat is its ability to edit photos. So now you can, just like you would edit video and do all kinds of color correction, everything, you can go to a new tab on the Blackmagic Resolve editor and edit photos. Now, I actually haven't had a chance to play with this yet. I do want to, though. I've just been busy with my feature film that I've been trying to finish. Hopefully this summer, we'll see. And I have not played with it, but you have played with it. So give us kind of your lowdown, Zach. What's it like to use it as a photo editor?
I mean, I would say I played with it as in I opened it up, and because like I've been trying to figure out how to, one of Lightroom's big problems is they don't have like an easy, like, basically anybody who uses like Adobe or Photoshop has to also have Photo Mechanic, and I'm trying desperately not to spend another whatever amount of money it is on Photo Mechanic, and then like shift everything. Oh, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt. And I've been doing this for a decade, like a decade as a wire photographer, doing the stupidest possible thing. I should have just bought it years ago, trained myself on it, and done it like every other photographer in the world. Um, but yeah, no. So then Resolve came along, and I thought it would be easy. I opened it up, and I like literally could not figure out how to import photos. And so maybe I very, very likely that I was just like, it's not intuitive, I'm out. Because that's the one thing with Lightroom that I enjoy, that it's, I mean, mind you, I've been using Light for many, many years and many intonations, so it's intuitive to me. It's 100% intuitive, and it's super easy to use, and it's out and exports quickly, and I know exactly what I'm getting, and so like I kind of gave it the lamest try. I'm gonna definitely like look into it again when I have, maybe I have a shoot tomorrow that I'm doing, and or an assignment, or kind of not an assignment, but a story that I'm covering tomorrow. Maybe I'll try to use it after I do my wire service and be like, okay, I got to sit down and see if this is usable. My problem with the whole like getting off of Lightroom thing, or getting off of Adobe thing, which is like obviously part of this, is that I don't want to relearn video editing on and I've done enough research into it that people that use it ranges. Like, so a lot of people say, oh, it's super easy to use, it only took me 3 months to like relearn, and I'm like, I have no interest. I barely, like, I have a functional usability of a Premiere, and that's because that's kind of all I need and all I want. And I don't know how to use After Effects. I have no interest in doing that until I'm like, somebody has a gun to my head and says, this is your job. You need to do it. And I will, then I will learn it. But it's just like, to get off of the Adobe thing where it's just like, I know how much money it costs every month and it sucks, but unless they say, because I right now I'm paying like I think $43 a month, because you can basically every single time the price goes up, you basically complain and then they give you a discounted price to keep you as a customer.
Right.
Everybody does that. And so if I can get that, if I can just keep that going, I'll deal with that. I don't care. It has updates, it has things like that. It will continue functionality because I've seen so many of these kind of editing platforms come and go. Like
Hmm.
to me, that's kind of like the one thing that I don't mind about the subscription is that, well, they have to keep it functioning, otherwise they won't get the subscription for next month. And
Right.
so, unlike a lot of these other companies that go, well, you bought this program 5 years ago, we're not doing updates for this anymore, which is what I feel like the DaVinci Resolve thing feels like a trap in every way, shape, and form,
Hmm.
because you pay for it once and it's a very low affordable price for this supposedly all-in-one functioning thing, and there's
Yeah.
no other money behind. It's not like they have some other money coming in. So like to me this feels like the way that, remember, Uber used to be really really cheap.
Hmm.
Remember how like, and all these like tech services used to be really cheap, and then once they got you there and they destroyed taxi services and they destroyed hotels and they destroyed whatever, then they grab you and then they do it. Like, this is just my parent tech paranoia person, like this is what
Hmm.
this is. And so I'm just like, I might just stick with the devil that I know, which is Adobe, as much as I
Sure.
hate it and how much they're forcing AI crap at every corner.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my I kind of tried it, thing. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I can see that being something maybe to be concerned with. That I would say the one thing that differentiates Blackmagic and Resolve from Adobe is that whereas Adobe is just the software, right? It's just Photoshop, it's
mhm.
just Premiere. Resolve and Blackmagic is a hardware company that happens to sell a video editor and other software type products. So they make their money on the hardware. And a lot of the times, they'll give you the software for free if you buy their hardware. For instance, the only reason I have Resolve in its studio format, which is the one you have to pay for, is because I bought this one of these. Here, I bought this thing, this speed editor for like, I don't know, $400 or $500 back a couple years ago, and it came with the software.
Sorry, I just
So
enjoyed that the AI is automatically covering it. It's
see if I can.
censoring it. There you
There
go.
you
Yeah,
go.
no, I just, when you held it off to the
I
side, it
know.
was like, no.
Right. No product placement.
Redacted.
Hashtag not sponsored. But that's the reason I have Blackmagic Resolve. But I would pay for it, honestly, as a software because it's such a great software. It's so robust, so full featured. And I think this photo thing, I'm just playing with it now, just to kind of mess with one photo. I think, I'd have to see how well it does with my normal workflow because I'm actually an Adobe user right now. I've got a student discounted subscription to it. So I'm using Adobe, and my workflow primarily consists of, downloading my work, making my selects in Bridge, and then exporting to Camera Raw, and then doing all my edits in the Raw editor, and then exporting that. And that's how pretty much I do it. And
Mhm.
if I had to do any captioning of work, I would just do it in Bridge. I don't see a need to have a separate Lightroom or Photo Mechanic. I can edit all the metadata myself. I know they offer some streamlining and whatnot, but I'm not in that
Yeah.
world full time all the time, so I can't, see the value in it for me personally.
Yeah.
But I definitely will have to get more used to this, but I do like the fact that it's in here. Sometimes, when I'm doing my work in Resolve, it requires, the use of photos to be part of like the timeline. Like I've got to do a Ed Burns style
Yeah.
documentary or something. I'm using photos. And so just having all these additional
Ken
tools
Burns, not
here.
Ed Burns.
What's that?
You
Did I say it
said Ed
wrong?
Burns. Sorry. Ken
Ken
Burns is what
Burns.
you were looking
Okay.
for.
Is there an Ed Burns?
Yeah. I love Ed Burns style. Like, I just, because I love Ed Burns. He's a great actor. But I just love the idea of an Irish, like, was it Family McMullen or whatever his last film was? Brothers McMullen.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So, I can easily see this as being something where, if I'm doing something like that, instead of me having to make a tweak to a photo and having to go through a separate
yeah.
program and then bring it back in or whatever, I can just go straight into this photos tab, make whatever changes I need to, and then I have it right there on the timeline. I'm already integrating it into the feature. So I am glad it exists. I'm not fearful about the destruction of Adobe and whatever because of this, because I think Adobe is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
It's a juggernaut, right? It's still the industry standard for many, many things. I don't see it ever going away because there's so many people tied within the industry that use it. And it's just, even though Resolve, I think, is a better overall product, it's like to get people to learn how to use Fusion to do the same things they do in After Effects is probably a bridge most people don't feel like crossing. They're like, I'm just going to pay the subscription
Yeah.
fee. It's not that big a deal. It's the cost of doing business. I'll pass on the cost to my customers. Anyone doing regular client work, the cost of paying for a subscription for something like Adobe is negligible, I think, in the scheme of things. So I don't see it going away, and I'm glad that alternatives like Blackmagic and Resolve exist for those people who think are just starting out or want
Yeah.
something that's an alternative. Like I don't feel like paying a monthly fee after my student discount runs out, and I will cancel Adobe after it does, but until then, I'll take advantage of it. But I do like this that it exists, and
Yeah. I mean,
I'll definitely play with it
yeah.
longer.
If I was starting up right now, I would probably that would be my answer, especially considering I do more video work than I probably spend more time in Premiere than I do in Lightroom now.
Hmm.
And so like if I was starting up now, then absolutely that would be it. Like Adobe
Hmm.
wouldn't I wouldn't even probably think about Adobe at
Yeah.
all. Especially since like right now I'm kind of using like Premiere and Lightroom and I use Photoshop basically to do like graphic design, poorly and that's kind of it. And so yeah. Um yeah, I mean I love competition because that might force Adobe to lower their prices naturally. I don't see that happening because I don't think that they have a business mindset. I don't think they actually see themselves as being a competitor to anyone, which is probably going to be the thing that like ends up killing them. But
Well, I will say, I mean, and again, I don't know this space that well, but there are competitors who are making strides. Like, for instance, Canva has Affinity Photo, and I think it's actually the biggest competitor to
yeah,
Adobe right now in terms of what they're probably the most afraid of. And, Adobe has been responding to Resolve's actual effort. They just came out with something called Color Mode, which I think is in the beta version of Premiere. I haven't played with it, but I listened to a podcast about it, and it seems to be Adobe's answer to, DaVinci Resolve. And from what the PR person was talking about on the show, it seems to be like a really intuitive way to color film. And, that's one thing I'm trying to learn right now through, my own film creation process is color and all that stuff. But yeah, if there's something that can make it easier,
yeah.
maybe Adobe has the right way to
I
go.
would Yeah, I used Affinity to do the layout for a book recently, and oh my God, I love it so much.
Yeah.
It was so much easier than oh my God, what's the Adobe equivalent? InDesign. I hate InDesign with a freaking passion. Affinity was like a breeze.
Really? Wow.
Um, like the problem is that like I do like basically for my friend Russ who writes like 2 books a year, and I do the layout often for him, and so it's I only use that 2 times a year. And so in design I think I used to know how to actually, what the funny thing is like Quark. I learned that was the first like real program that was anything other than, even before I learned Photoshop I knew how to use Quark, which was like the original newspaper layout program way back in like 99 2000. I was a whiz on that, mainly because we had a crappy I ran did the layout for the independent school newspaper, and we had a crappy Mac that was I think past its days and would crash and lose the paper at least once every single time we did it. And like, thankfully it was a weekly newspaper. It was a or weekly or biweekly newspaper, so I didn't lose it every day. But I learned it that way, and the fact that I had to redo the newspaper twice a day. So I learned how to do it once, it would lose it, and then I would really learn how to do it the second time because I would just blow through it, save it, export, and then like hope to God everything went. And so, but yeah, no, I learned how to do that. And then InDesign is like it's basically like Quark with head massive head trauma. which is what I always kind of think about it that way because it makes no freaking sense whatsoever, and it just does things illogically, and it's more complicated than it needs to be because it's just page layout. It's not, it's not like anything that complicated. But Affinity is really close to, if you ever use Blurb. Blurb has a really simple book editor that's actually fantastic, and especially if you're doing photo books or even if you're doing like text books, it does this really simple thing and it just has kind of drag and drop and everything really friendly. And it's basically a professional version of like Blurb's book editor. And that's all that I need. And I think that's all that probably, I mean, I've done 3 books edits that have been published and, sold a couple thousand copies, I think. So, I mean, like it works. And it's one of those, I'm like, I don't understand why anyone needs, that is doing like book design. Obviously there's other reasons, obviously for InDesign, but yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and absolutely. I love InDesign. I mean, that's what I kind of grew up with. It was kind of where I came from because I was using PageMaker before that. And so InDesign was like a breath of fresh
yeah.
air, and I'm used to like how it works. I mean, I can easily kind of get on the bike of
Mhm.
using InDesign again. But maybe I'll check out Affinity if I have to do any more publishing after I'm done with Adobe products because, it's not something. But, again, I like what Blurb offers, and I've also used there was another photo book creation service that had their own tool. I can't remember the name of it, but it was also very intuitive. But yeah. Well, anyway, Zach, I think that's good, man. We've been talking for about an hour. It's been great chit
Yeah.
chatting with you, buddy. And yeah, I'd say we can do this every week if we can't find somebody else to join us because there's so many things to talk about, and it's always fun to talk to you about anything that is going on in this world of filmmaking and photography and
Definitely.
photojournalism, all that
Same.
fun stuff. So. Awesome, buddy. Well, anything you want to shout out or throw out before we say goodnight?
I've got we have I did an interview with the director to American Agitators, a new documentary about this activist organizer named Fred Ross, who was a guy that's shockingly, for somebody who I'm sure at this point who my political leanings and where I am, but like I had never heard of him, and he was the basically Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta. He's like a what I call him in my reviews, like the Forrest Gump of political organizer. He was the mentor to Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and like just an incredible guy. Like if you just like how helpful, just incredible guy. And a documentary about this guy. And it's kind of a PBS style documentary, but it's if you're even vaguely kind of interested about the world of organizing and activism or whatever, it's a fascinating doc. It's about to hit. It's in select theaters right now, and it's going to get a bunch more soon. But I got like a 15, just a short interview, 15-minute long interview with him, and we'll have that up in the next couple days.
Awesome. That's great. I'll have a 48-hour film here up hopefully by the weekend. It's premiering on Friday. It's called The Oath, and we shot it. We didn't even get a chance to talk about this. We were going to talk about it, but
Yeah.
anyways, big controversies going on with the 48-hour competition and AI and back and forth. And recently they announced that they're not going to allow generative AI, which is a huge win for creators. And I think anyone who participates in the competition, like myself. And we got to get you up here one of these days, Zach, to do a competition. Actually, they have competitions in Virginia, so if you want to be part of another
Yeah.
team down there, you should. It's a fun experience, and they can always use BTS photography.
Mhm.
So anyways, yeah, I got my film coming out this weekend, and hopefully I'll get up online, maybe sometime after the weekend so everybody else can see it. So yeah, always good times
Cool.
making the
Love to see it.
movies. Cool, man. Well, all right then. Well, that's been Around the Lens Roundtable Discussions for this May 12th, 2026. Thank you, Zach. I'm Dave Murphy. This has been our show, and we'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.